Buenos dias. Wow. As we kind of get ready for Valentine's Day, we got a couple of things we want to discuss as we try and be more in and of the heart. So, as we approach this coveted holiday, where both sweets of flattery and sweets for the palate are exchanged, we're going to do our best to guide our efforts of a heartfelt giving holiday. I'm going to remind our listeners, we're a couple of twins sorting stuff out. And thus far, it's been beneficial. We're not experts. We always invite feedback. If you like what you're listening to, leave a like. If you have something to contribute, leave it. We're going to include it. I promise you. So, Lori.
Happy Valentine's Week.
Happy Valentine's Week. What do you think about this?
Well, tradition holds that Valentine's, a lot of it has to do with separation of twins originally, right? So, and then
wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
I had no idea.
That's where they say your soulmate comes from, is that you initially were one and then separated. And that's why we have this kind of longing for one another. Now, that's just one of many myths surrounding it. You know, man's always trying to make sense of the things in life that feel very difficult to explain, right?
Indeed. So as we kind of move into this holiday, this highly commercialized holiday, where the caricature of Cupid is all around us, and we have to recognize the cherub silhouette that adorns windows as merely a metaphor for our affected sense of adoration and affection for another, generally a partner. I think I'd really like to talk about Valentine's being focused on the heart and giving, a little bit more unreserved. So in this temporary madness of the heart, our only objective is to make it permanent. And after the breathlessness and excitement subside, and the endless declarations of promise eternal, we realize that it's only the act of being in love that we hope to secure. So, as foolish as we are, we're very fortunate that we've already accomplished that. So apparently any fool can do it. So I think I'm really just taken by this holiday, more than I think I have been in the past, because I feel very lucky to have a Valentine. But also the more I talk to you about things like this, serious conversations, and we love to play and live in the levity of the moment. But I want to talk about giving, like, beyond that intimate partner exchange. I think Valentine's Day should be like, I'm constantly thinking about things of the heart now, the heart.
All that matters.
Darn you for introducing me to this, but I think we have to think about, like, really unreserved. Looking beyond all the good fortune we find in the walls of our castle, so to speak. We don't really live in castles, but the walls of our relationship, I'm desirous to give beyond that. And Valentine's Day is just a day where I guess it's easy to give chocolates and let people know you're thinking about them. But what do you think?
I think the caricature of Valentine's, well, you were talking about the caricature of Cupid, but like there's also kind of a caricature of the day as a whole, in that we want to give, there's like cutesy stuff, very commercialized, like you say, almost where it has become this type of a silhouette, which is just an outline or a stamp of what it could be. But, details do matter, don't they? And I think when it comes to matters of the heart, we want to fill in those details to make that what could be a silhouette um, become something more dimensional with the detail that we add to it. You're talking about coming out of our castles, and in fact, I do think of the heart in a way of if you want to talk about our castles, that often refers to, again, in metaphor, our inner life. And so we want to move from having the just certain something that feels like a Cupid's arrows hit you and struck you with love. We want to get from that to where we begin to cast our own arrows out, and those arrows would be a way of moving what happens inside us, that inner life, and expressing it outwardly to share with others, because that's the whole point of the heart, is that it's expressed and given. And I like that you say without reservation. That is our house motto, is we love and serve one another without reservation. And I think that's an ideal that we are constantly trying to strive for.
As we move, like as I uncover more, and I am thinking with a more, it's almost like a heart conscience, just very aware, a heart awareness. And I say without reservations because traditionally in my life, I've reserved the Valentine celebration for a Valentine, and I think it's a great opportunity, especially in this time where there is so much distress. It's
well said.
People have really been sequestered for a long time. And even if they're not isolated completely, we are all feeling some sort of isolation, because of the pandemic. And we are not, this pandemic has forced us to not live a traditional shaking hands, embracing kind of life. And I think we got to get creative. The last time we spoke, you were talking about, not just we were talking about crying, and you said, well, don't just cry with them. If you have the ability to offer an anesthetic or a salve, get them a meal, fill that need, and I think that this is a little bit weird, because we're sitting here talking about giving a little bit differently than, the traditional chocolate,
right,
and a heart covered card. And I'm not saying to do away with those, because those are important. I mean, who doesn't like getting chocolate? But we should include, I say we should, I'm thinking for myself. I'm not the authority on anybody's life, but I am thinking for myself that I need to give beyond what I would to my wife.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up right there.
Done.
Leave on a high note.
When you're talking about isolation, and it's been something ongoing for a couple years now, and there's, aside from quarantine, the obvious, right? There's been this kind of weird occurrence where there's different layers of isolation to me, on top of quarantine for health reasons, if you want, take it or leave it, in that kind of area of belief and science and everything else. Apart from that, there's these layers of separation and isolation that have happened just in working that part out, the differences people have, whether it's from fear, prudence, or no fear, lack of fear, and feeling held back by those that are a little bit more fearful, this has caused a different kind of separation, which is isolation. The only reason that I go and add all that is because what it points to for me, what you seem to be talking about is the unnaturalness of where we find ourselves today and returning to something that is more natural. Now, when I started Tug of Heart, my aim, no pun intended for arrows, but my aim was always to return to the naturalness of what it means to be within your heart, which is a very, like, what comes natural. It's never over the top. It's never asking anybody to do anything or of myself that is not right. Sometimes it can feel a little unnatural, the exercise of getting back to where we belong, only because we have practiced otherwise for so long. And you were talking about romantic love, which also made me think of that, because there is a kind of, romance. While we're talking about words and symbols, what is romantic? Roman, right? That's just a Roman way of kind of trying to identify something. And a lot of love is trying to identify stuff and people and your sweethearts. But why not open up and love more and reserve less in general? Because then what you find is nobody is really general, right? We are all bound to one another.
I like what you're saying.
You better, because I'm actually just rewording what you just said. So I'm kidding, but to take it that next step, like from where I'm coming from, I think if anything, we're saying the exact same thing. Mine is probably like the girlish version of what you're saying, but there are the two sides from where I come from, a feminine and masculine way of approaching things. And I think it does both quite well to work it out and start getting to the business of loving, like you're saying. Sounds like you're saying, like, let's roll up our sleeves and how do we get to it? How do you show terms of endearment February 15th? Let's say March after the sale, so you don't say, oh, I'll go get the sale chocolate. But so how do we share those expressions of love and just shoot our arrows outside of a specific day? And this is a good day to remember. We talked about this at Christmas, where nothing against holidays, because it's a time to kind of, if nothing else, open up the conversation, bring it to our talk, right? Bring it to the heart and see what we think about it and how we extend it to always be more, ever more.
So as we get into this, I mean, remember, nothing that we're saying right now is to encourage or enthuse anybody to not do what's familiar, because I think we still got to get the cupcakes and we still got to, for our loved ones.
You always start where you're at. That's a great place to be.
But now I think, again, for me and you, because you're my twin, I can boss you around, kind of. Well, not really, but certainly make recommendations. I think we should go beyond, because everything that we're doing is about, I think Valentine's Day is specific in terms of what we've become familiar with, eros and eroticism and intimate love, partnership love. And I think that's great. I mean, that's kind of what we know. We identify this day. Its significance is folklore, not necessarily law, but we recognize this day. And if it helps some people, remember their partner, their intimate partner more, that's great. But at the core of it, it's a celebration of the heart and what we feel in the company of another person. But I think it's also a great day because here at Tug of Heart, I think community distress should tug at our heart.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why I'm going to tell you, as my twin, we're going to go out and just kind of do something that is unexpected.
I love that. I actually really love that. Um, because the other thing is when you're talking about like just that the erotic love or the wanting kind of love, it what you're doing is you're talking about a love set aside for couples, and nothing wrong with that. The only
Mm-mm.
thing is every time you create a group and say this is about this, you encircle that group, and that's a boundary. But every time you make a group that you enclose them, you're also closing some out, and that's just extending that isolation you're talking about to someone. And it should just be, if anything, say I love my spouse so much, so much, I love them more than they're ever going to actually be able to receive, hopefully. So let me take some of the extra and pass it around. It's not just for us. Like for me, the love I feel for you, for Steve, my husband, for Joanne, your wife, sometimes it feels like you'll burst, literally, right? Your heart is like, it could just explode with this love. Well, maybe that's a little overflow. And on behalf of that love, give beyond uh, where you have drawn the line to include yourself. Going back to how you began it, which I wasn't coming from there actually when we started, but I'm all about it now. I'm convinced in just this few minutes.
So I think it's a good start. It's a good start for you and I to kind of start to, number one, normalize including our heart with people we don't know. Normalize giving to somebody from our heart. Valentine's Day is just, it's just a day that where there's a lot of hearts in the commercialized world at Walgreens, you know, because otherwise it's Planters Mixed Nuts on birthdays. So because there's so many hearts floating around, it's a good time to check in with our heart and see what we can give. What can we spare? Well, we spare a lot. You
Right.
know, I can, you know. So, you know, this day and age, as Lori would say, it's almost scary though, because people are so divided, and so we're going to have to normalize it because we have been, you know, isolated for so long that now it's going to be weird to go out and, you know, literally we're going to have to ask permission. Would you like something? I'm going to grab something to eat. Would you like something? You know, would you mind if I picked up your meal? Would you mind if I paid for your car wash? Would you mind if I got you a cup of coffee? No. I don't want to sit and join you for coffee. I don't want to ruin your routine, but can I get your coffee? You know,
I like that.
and that's it's gonna be different. It's gonna change things. So that's what I'm gonna do. So there's my Valentine's. Now, when it comes to in my home, well, we've been eating pretty healthy. So I don't think we're gonna do cupcakes. I don't think we're gonna do chocolate.
Don't act like we didn't see you make a birthday cake this past week.
Oh my gosh, did you see that?
You want to tell us about it? That's a little Valentine you gave your friends, your guy friends.
Well, we've got a little cohort. 5 of us camp together generally. We're spread out all over the state of Florida. And through Google Earth and modern technology, I was able to zoom and zoom and zoom. And I found this place that is literally a very equal distance from 5 different people. And so we all converge at this little place in the middle of the state where there's a train track and a body of water. And we go other places, but this is one place where we want to just get away, camp for a couple of days, good cooking. So my little buddy Christopher, who I've known since he was, I think, a senior in high school, 17 or 18 years old. I bought a truck from him, and and then he was kind of interested in, just my fascination with Toyota Land Cruisers, and he said, "Man, can I join you on your next purchase?" And I went to Maryland, and he bought a ticket and met me in Maryland, and we drove back together. And this little guy is just kind of a young guy that's just so enthusiastic to learn. I mean, he's like your help me.
Kurt.
Kurt. He's like your Kurt. He's like just so infectiously enthusiastic to learn about brakes. And remember the Thugga Thuggas? Well, we know it's not four.
Right.
Snapped a bolt on his brakes. So it was his birthday, and I think he was surprised. He thought we were all going to forget him, and so we showed up and camped for a couple of nights, spent 3 days and a couple of nights, and we made him a birthday cake in a Dutch oven over the fire and frosting, and we sang him happy birthday and gave him his first cast iron, which happens to be a 3-inch wide or a 3-inch diameter cast iron pan to make a single egg, because you know what? Everybody's got to start somewhere. So it was a really good trip. And while I wasn't thinking about Valentine's, it made his day.
I mean, you made him a sweetheart for the day. I love that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but
that's okay.
I feel like it was nice. It felt good to do it. Everybody participated. It was really cool, and that was nice. But
go ahead. Sorry.
But I think that is, again, that's doing something for somebody already familiar. Because I mean, he's been part of our little camping group now for, goodness gracious, he turned 25. So I think he's been part of the camping group for like 7 years.
Oh, wow. That's the point. That exemplifies why you do that, because there is always a start to something. There's always that initiation of a relationship, which is when if you want to go back to Cupid, where the Cupid arrow lands, you don't know where that can be. And you were talking about this day and age and romance and how things have changed. In this day and age, I would add that we can become distracted with seeking being loved. Nothing wrong with that. Very natural human component of the way love works. It's when it becomes such a preoccupation that you miss the bigger love of giving, because you're always, it's a more, eros is a selfish love. Ultimately, that's what it means. It's about self, what I can get, what I want for me. And ultimately you want to move into the kind of love that is, it just naturally makes you want to give the more you're in your heart, just in a natural way. Now, the way that's expressed is different, which is something that I'm going to try to introduce our next talk. But I want to take the time we have left, because I did want to hear what you were going to say about home love, so I can take some notes and try to scramble this week.
So it's funny you say about, we want to be loved, and I'm starting to see a pattern where things come full circle. We've talked about this a couple of times. When your problems are so great, they're insurmountable. Well, we rarely see our own challenges with any degree of clarity or realism. So I would say that, like on a holiday like this, we want to be loved. We definitely, I mean, who among us doesn't, enjoy being the focus of somebody else's affection? Mm-hmm. And so how do we do that? I hope for it. I wish for it. I pray for it, perhaps. Probably start being that. Be that which we most desire, and it becomes a reflection. It's hard not to love somebody who's out there busy loving.
Yeah, you love the lovable first, right?
Right. So in terms of in the household, sometimes I think for me, I get bogged down because it's hard to express. I'm very fortunate. We do a lot of things together. We make a lot of meals together. We spend a lot of time together. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to get creative. Like in the beginning when we did amazing things um, to as a display, a declaration, like I was saying earlier. So now we have to just kind of add a tail to what, oh, we need to add a tail to the tail of the relationship. Elongate it.
It's Steve and I call this the NLE syndrome, which is when you're the new love energy, when you'll like take a bullet and that enthusiasm where what you said is we did great things the first beginning time. That's the amazing things happen in NLE period, right? And so what we want to do is become more comfortable in that love where we can extend that tail to more amazing things and broader because our base is better, that we can build higher. And we have to have a different kind of appreciation, but we also have to have confidence that we're still kind of amazing people when we want to get into the heart of it things. And when we're in the love we have together, amazing things are still possible, aren't they?
What's really amazing? I'm listening to you talk and I sit here and say like, man, I got to find some enthusiasm for creativity. And you're saying NLE, which is awesome. My first thought was no laws enforced. And then, but it's really new love energy, which I like even more. So when you say new love energy, I think immediately the first thing that strikes me is that how awesome is it that the extraordinary has simply become ordinary?
Yeah, no shame in that, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's like, so we just need to recognize it for what it is and sit back and be like, okay, this is good. This is good. Yeah. This is as good as it ever was. It's just that it's become
the amazing is now mundane. We cooked together where at first you wouldn't sleep all night. We cooked together. It's mundane now. Congratulations.
You said that almost like a Halloween. Ooh, we cooked together.
It's my voice. My theory is that somewhere along the line, I maybe yelled or something, and I got this permanent voice strain that I've never gotten over. That's all.
Okay, that's all.
So, it's the Asperger voice.
so it's really good that we look back and we're like, the truth is we got to sit down and just kind of clarify that our objective is to just keep doing what we've been doing because it's good. It's really good.
And then some's all right too. Something a little newer new love, the NNLE, newer new love energy.
Wow, the acronyms are getting long. I'm going to need.
Okay, how about RNLE, the rebirth of new love energy? Nah, too much.
Too aneurysm.
Give me a couple home love tips. Give us a love prescription, Dr. Leroy.
Ooh, I don't have that, but I can tell you what I like and try to do. I love. I love to cook together. Number one, I like to eat. Number two, I think it's a very wholesome interaction where there is community effort into something that is for many people spiritual, the breaking of bread.
Literally, yes.
So I think it's really neat to sit down and cook together. And don't get me wrong, I think it's also beautiful when you're able to hit the grill and mama's making a salad and it just kind of flows. I think that's good. But I think that's something that I really, really enjoy. Something that I try to do. Okay, here you go. Prescription. Go get the groceries.
Nice.
Just I always try to do that. Pick up the prescription.
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't just get the groceries, but follow the list. Don't just go and be like, I got a bunch of stuff that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Include the list, follow the list, and bring the change back.
I always, yeah, no. But
But it's a good idea.
those that feel called to that, go for it.
What's that?
For those that feel called to that, go for it.
You're referring to the change.
Yeah, I like to keep Stephen, the NLE, my husband, the New Love Energy, where he would never want such a thing.
Right, never dream of it.
I want to add the breaking of bread. It's such a, I love what you were saying about cooking together, because I was picturing how you were saying, like, it's generally like a peace offering and a treaty. And the thing is, breaking of bread, a good measure, I have known since we were young, if you've ever seen our mom upset at the kitchen table, not to drag her in a negative way into Valentine's Day, but as we run out of family, it's a little easier to do, less people to face. But a good measure of where somebody is at mentally and in their heart is if you sit and eat with them. So it's just like, because to this day, I know if my mom was only picking sesame seeds off of bread while everybody was eating, somebody was in trouble. And it's pretty hard to eat with someone and not have a pretty good gauge, but use that gauge and set things right. One way or another. If it was something that is in your capacity to do it. If it's not, wash the dishes and stay clear till they get right. It's such a good gauge that you can use in a positive way.
Yeah, well put.
And it's also a measure of, like, if I remember Steve and you saw our place when we first got together, very tiny, and that's a good gauge too. Try cooking in a tiny kitchen together. You know how you feel about each other when you're confined to a small space. In the NLE or New Love Energy, you're like, oh, excuse me, sorry, it was a tight spot, I kind of bumped you. And the other may be like, no problem, actually, let's do that again, slow motion. But later it's like, what? Get out of my kitchen. Too much again.
Okay, this is a G-rated show. So we can't go from cooking to douch.
I don't know how you went from slow motion to that.
I'm saying let's not. Okay.
But the thing is, such good, just to be around one another, be present, because that's the clearest gauge of your would-be lover.
Or travel.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, listen, Lori, this is good. It's very useful. Before we check out and close this up, tell me, what's your prescription?
My prescription is, you are more over the top than me. So you have more just larger ways in expressing your love. You're performative, in a good way. That's a compliment. I would say start simple. I'm always a kind of person, like, the easiest way to get in shape, get shoes. You don't need a lot of equipment. Go run, go walk. Where you don't have to start acquiring or money for travel. Go home for Valentine's Day, and before or beyond Valentine's Day, just pick a few random times. Be nice. Like you said last time, give a compliment. find a compliment, be grateful. When possible, give them a win, bite your tongue. That's like the best gift people can get a lot of times.
So when you say shoes,
mm-hmm.
the first thing that pops into my head is these boots were made for walking.
That's what you heard and all that.
That's what I heard.
Well, for those of you that heard beyond that, be nice.
I like that. Okay, so I'm going to be nice, and you're going to be nice. We're going to try and cook together, and I think, Lori, you'll let me know how it works out. Get back to me.
Do something
but we're going to try and do something.
The home,
yeah,
in the name of the home.
But in the name of Valentine's Day being in and of the heart, let's do something for somebody we don't know.
Right. Just say Happy Valentine's Day week. Get that coffee for them.
Mm-hmm. Lori, good. I like it. It's easy.
I love you, brother. Happy Valentine's. Valentine's is for twins too, and brothers and siblings.
Yeah, it is. Will I get chocolates?
You have been a real stinker about, I've been trying to get you a gift for a while now, and I gave up on you. So this will air after it occurs. I'm sending your wife a Valentine's gift.
Okay. And if you want to know about my Valentine's, needs and desires, I wear a size 50-acre parcel in North Carolina.
I was starting to write that.
Okay, I'm just joking. Lori, thank you. I always have so much fun talking to you. I've always longed to talk to you, and it's funny that this is the manner in which it comes to the front, but man, I do enjoy spending time with you on these podcasts and chatting. So with that, I'm going to say adios. Lori, take us out of here.
So those of you that listen, do us a favor. You know what? If you want to give us a little Valentine gift, like and share the podcast, maybe talk about it, tell somebody, like and share Strong Island. It would mean a lot to my heart. We don't pretend to be fancy or over the top or anything like that, but with all our heart, we are trying to just normalize, as Leroy said, talking to the heart, bringing things into the heart, and just getting it started. We're not big finishers. I'm going to say it. But if you share, maybe together we can all get there. Until next time, adios.
Adios.